Lecture 7, Online, GD&T Project Books. This online lecture will cover your GD&T project for MFGE 321. It is an individual project, not a team project. Each student in class is expected to complete their independent project. Now you should feel free to work with classmates, and that's okay, but each student is to turn in their independent and unique project book. Okay, so let's get started. You will create a series of summary cards to help you remember the important details regarding geometric dimensioning and tolerancing. I will show you an example of some project books that were created in class in a week or so. Now, you can use Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint, whatever, but you will print out a series of 4 by 6 cards, 4 inches by 6 inches. If your printer doesn't support this, or you want to use a different card size, you will have to check with me first for prior approval. However, I can tell you that all of your colleagues that have prepared these books in the past were able to manage the 4 by 6 criteria. So expect that to be my default answer. Now here's an example of a card. This one happens to be professionally prepared, but it represents a good format and template to follow. So your score will be based on technical content as an accurate and correct info. That your format has a professional appearance. Also, the perceived usefulness of your project book. And you will want it to be useful, and I'll mention why in a moment. And incorrect spelling, grammar, typos will count against you. This is your book. It also happens to be the only reference material you get to bring on the final exam. There's not going to be a one-pager, notes thing like you had on the midterm. So basically, you'll get to have an open book final, and the book will be the book you wrote. Now, the better you make this book, the more likely you will score well on the final exam. Errors in your book will detract from your project score, as well as likely cause wrong answers on the final. In short, errors will be costly, double costly. I might even call that the double whammy. So finally, you will be required, let's spit that out, say it again. Finally, you will be required to submit by email, like we did in the labs in the first half of the class, your book, your electronic file format that you made, that you printed this book from. Be it Word, Excel, PowerPoint, that sort of thing, so that you can prove to me, to moi, that this independent work was all your doing. You can include as many cards as you like to show fundamental issues. In other words, there may be cards with mostly text to remind you of the various rules. That's fine. I expect to find at least one card for each of the GD&T symbols we go over in class. Now, not leader lines and arrow point types, no, but things like flatness, runout, datums, perpendicularity, those sorts of things. Now, you can use more than one card for a symbol if the use and variations seem to warrant that. Each of the symbol cards must include a diagram showing how the symbol is applied, either a sketch you create by hand, or maybe a software-generated CAD sketch or a scanned image. A quick comment regarding the by hand sketches. Now, we will spend quite a bit of time during the homework assignments working on GD&T solutions. It is important to cultivate the ability to clearly express your ideas either on a whiteboard or on a napkin with a sketch by hand. It's why I'm so nitpicky with your homework sketches. Now, you will unlikely have a CAD system at your beck and call when you are discussing ideas with colleagues over a beer in a pub. But you will likely have a pen and most likely can have a napkin. My point here is that neatness counts. It always counts. Napkins aside, your project needs to represent and present a professional appearance. If you choose a hand sketch option, it will need to look good. Here is a nice example of a card that explains datums. In this case, our student used CAD to produce the sketches. Nothing fancy, but the student was familiar with the tools and chose to do it that way. You do not need to learn CAD for this project. The student here also gave a very nice description and the use of datums. Also, be sure to include page numbers on your cards. Sometimes the books get opened up and spill. It happens, right? And having page numbers will help make short work of recollating a book if it happens to crack open. So here are some rubrics, guidelines. Let me read these so that we're all on the same page. Okay, all text must be in your voice. Do not simply copy text from our book. If you scan images or you feel the need to directly quote from the book, for example, I'm not going to ask you to come up with your own wording for rule number 1 or rule number 2. So therein is an exception where you're going to quote from the book because it's an ASME rule. All right, but you're going to put in your card where it came from. Right? That's like the rarest of rare examples where you can quote from the book, right? Then you must properly cite all references. Failure to cite references is considered plagiarism. Now, educators like me at nonprofit public universities do get to use something called fair use. It's part of the U.S. Code, right? If I was a for-profit teacher, like at a for-profit institution like ITT Tech, I wouldn't be able to do any of that. But at a state university, which is not for profit, us professors do get this to help educate students. However, students, they don't get fair use. They don't get to dance that way, right? You must cite everything. For additional information regarding the university's stance on plagiarism, please refer to the following resource. And yes, I'm not going to read the website there, but it's offered to you in the syllabus. It's also offered to you in the handout I'm giving you in class. And finally, this presentation I'm giving you right now, the movie, also has a book. Not really a book, but it'll be a PDF on Blackboard, so you will have access to this. All right, good. Here we see a student that chose to pull sketches from our textbook. The student has given proper attestation, that's a hard word to say, here for the images used. So now I'll repeat myself. All texts must be in your voice. Do not simply copy text from our book. If you scan images or you feel the need to quote directly from the book, make sure you properly cite all references. Failure to cite references considered plagiarism, and plagiarism is not the highest form of flattery. All right, enough said. Let's carry on. A book cover or title page offers a nice professional touch. A table of contents is optional, but when you are digging like a gopher for something during your final exam, you are likely going to wish you had a table of contents. A table of contents under pressure is invaluable. The cards must be bound in some fashion. A pile of cards, as listed in the bad picture, is not acceptable. Cards bound, as you can see the picture must be bound, is good. Feel free to bring some cards to me early if you want a quick opinion about your format. So, this project is due the week before the final exam. 1 week before the final exam, you must bring your completed project to me. Your submission will include a hard copy of your bound book, as well as you will email to me the electronic source file in Excel, PowerPoint, Word, or whatever application you used to produce the books, so that I can see that you, in fact, did the work. I will return your books to you the night of the final exam for you to use as your source material for the final. And the project is worth 100 points. Absolutely no project will be accepted early or late. So there you have it. Talk like a pirate, right? No, so feel free to ask questions. Ask early and ask often. Also, pace yourself. Do not wait until the last moment. Do not wait until the last moment. Okay, now look, there's almost no homework scheduled during the second half of this class, the GD&T portion of this class, the second half of the semester, right? Other than reading the assignment in Wilson, our textbook, before class. And this is because, we focus our work in getting our, what would be homework, we get that done in the lab portion of the class. So you walk out of the class with no homework. You've turned in your homework assignment, your lab, before you left class. I can grade it and hand it back to you the very next week, so we're up to speed, up to date on those, and it affords you, right, all the time you need to focus on this project. You will have no competing tasks for this project from me, and therefore no excuse to say, we didn't get enough time. All right, so a popular question is, so Professor Bana, how much time do you think we should take for all this? Easy answer. Think about how much time you spent doing homework for the first half of this class, the measurement science portion, right, this semester. And I would say, duplicate that effort each week on this project. If you wait until the last moment, it will be reflected in your work and your project grade will suffer. As stated earlier, it will be the double whammy effect, right? Because your book ends up kind of being sucky, so too will your final exam grade, because the book is what you're going to have as reference for your final exam. Couple a poor project grade with a poor final exam grade, and your grade in this class could very easily tank. As in, you could conceivably fail the class. And I'm telling you people, it has happened. I have students that were doing like okay. They turned in a crappy book. They failed pretty much the final, and they failed the class. Do not let this happen to you. All right. Enough. Good luck, and I'll see you all in class.